This is going to get really ugly really fast. And I don't think insurance companies are going to be happy about this video. Hey everybody, it's Allie. I'm on a fantabulous weight loss quest, and hopefully you'll subscribe, come along for the ride, because I put out new videos every day. So if you are not a regular subscriber to my channel, then I want to lay some groundwork for you, because I recently reached the 100-pound weight loss mark, and I'm still going strong. And I feel like that gives me a foundation to be able to send out this open letter to insurance companies and ask some really important questions that need to be answered, because the logic is not logicking. As many of you are aware, it is open enrollment for insurance. It is currently October of 2024. And many people are starting to find that their insurance company has either opted out of covering GLP-1s altogether, or they're only covering them for diabetics, or they will cover them for weight loss, but only under specific situations. And it's that third category that I would like to talk about today. Now, like I said previously, the logic is not logicking, and I'm going to ask all of the important questions. And I would love for somebody in insurance to explain this to me, because it makes no sense. First things first, many insurance companies are making it a requirement that people titrate up in dose every 4 weeks. Now, the reason why this doesn't make sense is because we have so much data about how these peptides affect people and how side effects are happening. And the longer that these peptides are on the market, the more information we get, and the more research and the more studies will be done. So what these insurance companies are doing is they are requiring that patients go up in dose every 4 weeks. Many of them have set this arbitrary limit of getting to 7.5 or to 10 milligram when it comes to Zepbound and Mounjaro, and at that point, you can stay at that number. This is why that doesn't make any sense. I've lost 100 pounds. And over the past 9 months, I have stayed on each dose as long as I possibly could until it stopped working. For people who benefit from these medications who are not non-responders, they often have side effects, not all of them, but many do, that go with these medications, right, working on various parts of the body. As many of you know who are regular subscribers, I like to say activate pancreas, right? Because that's one of the things that this medication does. And by forcing individuals to titrate up, insurance companies are increasing the odds that people are going to have more severe side effects. Now, when prompted about this, insurance companies say, well, we have people titrate up because, many people don't see results on the first dose. Okay. And what about the people who do? I stayed on 2.5, which is the initial dose for Mounjaro Zepbound, Tirzepatide, for 13 weeks and lost 38 pounds. And in that time, I was also able to get used to the side effects, really get my feet underneath me, really take the time to adjust my nutrition, adjust my exercise, right? Make all of those changes without additionally having to deal with horrifying side effects from being forced to go up in dose. I stayed on 2.5 and it continued to work for 13 weeks, allowing me to then have a smoother transition to the next dose. Now, did I have side effects? Yes, but they were perfectly manageable. They were not extreme. They did not cause me to call out of work or to go to the doctor or to end up in the ER. They were uncomfortable, but I worked through it. But by forcing people to titrate up in this kind of one-size-fits-all, you're cutting the doctor's legs out from underneath them to be able to properly treat the individual. And I understand that insurance companies don't deal in the theory of the individual. They deal in the theory of this is the entire group of the people we are treating, and this is how much money it's costing us. And I'll come back to this money point in just a minute. So when asked about this, insurance companies say, well, many people don't see results on the lowest dose, so we want them to go ahead and titrate up rather than wasting money on staying at that lowest dose. Okay, well, if they're not having results and they're also not having side effects, it would only make sense that their doctor would move them up in dose. That should be a decision that the doctor is making, not the insurance company forcing it. The next point that insurance companies make is, well, we find that people drop off of GLP-1s in the first 4 months. Anywhere from 30 to 35% of people will just give up. So we're trying to weed out those people. Okay, so you don't want to have to pay for 4 months worth of medication for a patient who could potentially benefit, according to their doctor, on a GLP-1. And so your thought process is, well, they're just going to quit anyway, so let's just make them hurry up and quit by forcing them to go up in dose so that they have terrible side effects and they just quit and then we don't have to pay for it. Do you see how the logic is not logicking there? Oh, well, people have a tendency to quit and that's not good. So we're going to put them in a situation that forces them to quit? How can you possibly make any argument with any kind of reasonable data that indicates that that would make sense, both from a patient point of view and dealing with side effects and everything that comes with this medication, and also from a doctor point of view, being able to help the individual, because again, that's not what insurance companies do. Insurance companies looking at the bigger picture, doctor dealing with their one patient. So again, you're cutting out the legs from under the doctor in hopes to force the patient into a position where they quit. At what point does that make sense? Well, if we look at it from an obesity specialist point of view, many of them have come forward saying that obesity is a disease and that it needs to be treated as a chronic condition. And therefore, people on Wegovy and Zepbound need to have access to these medications for maintenance. So now you're not just taking the medication to lose weight and to become healthier and to deal with various comorbidities related to your weight or other conditions. now you need to stay on this medication long term. Well, insurance companies don't want to do that because the medication is expensive. So instead of dealing with the facts and the information that we have readily available about these GLP-1s, these peptides, these GLPs, we're just going to set these arbitrary rules and make it as hard as humanly possible so that we don't have to pay for the medication. And for those who are covered, specifically under weight loss for Zepbound and Wegovy, many of them, their insurance companies are forcing them to jump through these hoops where they have to, join some sort of Weight Watchers type organization where someone is tracking what it is that they're doing. They are required to lose a certain amount of weight from their start date, whether it's 5% or I've seen all the way up to 12%, right, in the first 3 months. They are required to, meet with a dietitian or a nutritionist. That part I feel would be beneficial to people. And they, many of them are required to get a scale in their home that then communicates back to this third-party company and reports back what their weight is. Okay, well, we all know that if you're weighing yourself daily, that weight fluctuates over time. And many of these people who are in these programs currently, because their insurance company is already requiring it, they are talking about how they have to weigh in at a certain day every week. Well, what about for people like me who are, our bodies don't work on a 7-day work week, right? I don't personally lose weight until day 8 to day 12. So if I'm weighing in every 7 days at a specific time, the weight loss is never going to show until a couple weeks later and it catches up. Well, if your insurance company is tracking that and you don't lose weight on their schedule, then you could then be denied the medication for not meeting the requirements. So who is this helping? Who is this helping? If I sound like I'm frustrated, it's because I am. I have a very real understanding of how these medications can change your life. I have a very real understanding that in the very first few months, there is such a huge learning curve to help people get their feet underneath them and get that foundation that they need in order to be successful on these medications. I think that with PBM reform, with everything that's being raised in regards to these medications and how they're being covered by insurance and compounding and how people need compound pharmacies because so many insurance companies just will not cover. This entire conversation should be in the hands of the people. They should not be decided by some group of individuals who may or may not have ever been on these medications, sitting in a boardroom deciding what affects their bottom line. They should not have that power. Now, I understand we live in America, right? This is the land of the free, the land of corporate America. I get all of that. And there is certainly room at the table for people to make money off of making prescription drugs that help people. And I don't have any problem with that. Where I have a problem is insurance companies cutting the legs of the doctor out from underneath them so that they can't treat the individual. And I know that there will be people who say, well, you can appeal it, you can do this, you can do that. We don't currently live in an economic climate where it is beneficial for a doctor to fight your insurance company to keep you on a medication or to get you access to a medication. And I don't say that to be critical of doctors. I used to work in a doctor's office with 11 providers. I understand how busy their day-to-day existence is in just treating all of the patients that they're seeing, let alone having to step outside of that to fight an insurance company. It should not fall to patients and doctors to have to jump through unreasonable hoops to get access to a medication that a doctor deems would be medically beneficial for a patient that he or she is responsible for. It just shouldn't be that hard. And I hope that at some point we get to a point with GLP-1s, with GLPs, with these peptides. I hope that we get to a point where insurance companies just give in. They cover them. Because for the first time in our last 50-year history, the obesity rate in the United States is on the decline. We are at a pivotal point in history where we can take our health back. Is it going to work for everyone? No. Are some people going to try and fail and give up? Yes. Are some people going to be non-responders? Yes. Are some people going to have, undesirable side effects? Yes. But all of that is true of every single medication that has ever come out on the market. I can tell you just from my own personal experience, having gone through 4 different blood pressure medications when I was at my highest weight, that not every medication works for every person. But I didn't have to jump through any hoops to get a different blood pressure medication. My doctor just notated that this one didn't work. It caused XYZ side effects. Okay, we move on to the next one. And I, for one, cannot wait until we get to that point when it comes to these GLP-1 medications. I wholeheartedly believe that it does not matter what condition they are treating, these medications provide an opportunity for people to take their health back. And that is a decision that should be made between the patient and the doctor. It should not be dictated and handed down by an insurance company. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. It helps my channel. If you know of somebody who would benefit from watching this video, please share it. I would love to get the word out about how these insurance companies have just become absolutely redonkulous. If you are somebody who is interested in PBM reform, in insurance reform, make sure that you are following all of the channels that are reporting on these issues, because there is a time and place for us to step up and come together so that we can enact change. And we can. It will take time, but if we stick together, we can do it. If you're looking for a positive-only support group, I've got you covered. Link is in the description box below. And as always, be kind, rewind.